Lovelies, welcome again on the channel. I'd like to say thank you to all returning subscribers, and if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and let's get this ball rolling. In this video, I'll share with you how to draft this beautiful asymmetric dress with front frills. And now that we have our fabric and our pattern, let's get into the video. I will be using this silk navy blue for the frills, while the other fabric will be for the rest of the dress. I have here my basic bodice front and back, and I also have my sleeve pattern. A tutorial video on how to draft sleeve pattern and basic bodice is linked up here and also in the description box, just in case you don't know how we came about all of this pattern. You can go check that out first before you continue watching. Now I'm going to start the drafting from the front pattern, and I'm going to start with neck width and neck depth for the front. So aside the 3 by 3 inches standard, which is on this pattern, I'm going to be coming in by 3/4, so which means that the measurement for the neck width and neck depth will be 3.75, because we don't want this dress to have a wide neck. Okay, so after that, we're just going to be marking out the point where our frills is going to be starting from. So we see that in this picture is sort of a scoop right there. So I'm just going to mark 8 inches from my center front and 4 inches from my armhole, and with freehand I'm just going to connect it into a scoop just like that. Now I'm just going to highlight that with my ruler, and I'm going to be extending my dart to that new line, that new curve. Okay, so I'm just going to extend the mid part of my dart leg just so I could be able to cut that open and close the side dart. So I'm just highlighting the waist dart because we'll still eventually take it out, but first I'm going to cut this out so that I'm able to close up my side dart. I'm just putting the green line so that when I eventually cut, I do not get confused. So I'm just simply labeling my pattern before it becomes pieces. It's just important for you to do this so that by the time all of your pattern becomes pieces, you won't get confused in any way. And don't forget to also put your notch points, indicate your notch point as well. So after this, I'm just simply going to cut this part open, then I'll be able to fold this such that I'm able to take out my side dart. So after folding this, you can see that the side dart is no longer there. Later on, I'm still going to close up this little shortage you see by the side. So I'm just marking at this point. I'm going to have that, so just so that it can meet, and I already removed the dart. Now I'm just labeling this part. So I'm just going to fill in this shortage right there at the side, and I'm just going to trim whatever that is still excess right there. I'm just going to trim it off, and I'm going to move on to my back pattern, and I'm also going to work on that. We really don't have much to do on the back pattern because it doesn't really have much style. We just need to work on our neck width and neck depth of the back. But right now I'm just labeling my front pattern to know how many of what I'm going to cut, and this is what your pattern should look like at the end of the day. Moving on to my back pattern now, I'm going to take out that 3/4. Guys, please don't mind me the way I use my tape roll. Please note that what I'm taking out here is 3/4, and for the center back I took out 1 inch. So I'm just going to connect that with a curve, and I'm just going to match it to the front to see that it matches. So I'm just going to cut this part out, as you can see, and that's that for the back pattern and also the front. here is what it all looks like. So practically we are done with our front and back on the drafting of this, and the next thing we need to work on right now is our sleeve. Alright, so here is our sleeve pattern, and if you look at this style once again, you see that the frills entered into that sleeve at that portion. So remember that we came down by 4 inch on our armhole. I'm just going to match that up to this part. Just take a look at the way I'm doing it. That 4 inch we came down by, you can mark the same 4 inch with your tape rule, or you just place the pattern on it. Then divide your wrist measurement into 4, and I'm just going to connect that just like this. Alright, so don't forget to label this part the forearm, and like I forgot guys, you need to do this on the forearm of your sleeve, not the back arm, because the gathers entered into the forearm. So I've just labeled this cut 2, cut 2, so I'm just going to cut 2 of each, and I'm also marking the point where I need to have my notches and all of that. Don't forget to also put grain line. Grain lines are really important because they save you from some costly mistakes, I mean to say. So I'm just going to cut this through, and that will be it. The flare part of the skirt, we're just going to cut that by freehand. So this is all that leads to the drafting of the front and the back, then the sleeve. So the next thing I'm going to do now is place my pattern on fabrics, and then we start cutting. Now I have my sleeve pattern placed on the fabric. The fabric is folded into 2. I'm going to be cutting 2 pieces of each, and I'm going to add to add 0.5 seam allowance all around, except on the hem of the sleeve where I added 1 inch. Now I'm just going to cut after adding all of the seam allowances on the sleeve, and I'm also going to place in my notches so that it guides me to easily sew both sleeves up. And this is what it looks like after cutting. So next I placed my front pieces and the back on my fabric, folded into 2 as well, and I also added 1/2 inch allowances all around, except for the center back where I added 1 inch, and also for the side seam where I added 1 inch as well. Alright, so moving on to cut our skirt part, which is the lower part of the gown. I'm going to fold my fabric into 4 on a bias grain, and I'm working with waist 36. This part will be the center front, the part with the self edge, and the other side will be the side seam, just like we fold our fabric for flare. So I'm working with it with 36 inches, so I'm checking out where I can get 9 inches, since we know that 36 divided by 4 is 9. So at that point where I'm going to get my 9 inches, I'm just going to mark whatever that gives me, which is 11 inches from the top right there. I'm just going to mark there. That's all across. So after marking, I'm just going to check again to see that I have 36 inches. So above this waistline, I'm going to come up by 1/4 inch. This line that I'm drawing now is 36, but by the time we cut, it's going to stretch, so it's going to be more than 36, and that's why we're coming up here by 1/4 inch, just 1/4 inch, so that by the time we cut it and we are sewing it to our upper bodies, the measurement is just going to be accurate. We are not going to have any excess on the waist of this skirt. So, and that's what I'm doing right now, and after that I'm just going to place the measurement for the skirt length. So the skirt length is going to be 41 inches, because the 1 inch I have here over the 40 inches is what I'm going to be using for my hem allowance. So I'm going to mark that 41 inches all across, and then after marking, we are just going to connect all of those dots, and then I'm just going to cut that part as well. Please watch what I'm doing really closely, because you know that this dress is asymmetric in length, which means the two sides are not the same length. So I'm really going to just reduce a part of that one side a little bit. So I'm gonna have to notch the sides, center, front, and then by the time I flip it towards the right side, I have something like this. So because the two sides of this dress is not the same, please note that the fabric is still folded into 4, which means we have 2 fold. Note the side you want to make higher, whether it is the right side or the left side. And on that side, you mark it. Here I marked 10 inches for mine. I came up by 10 inches just to create that sort of high-low effect. So this side, I'm going to make it higher. Please, you are going to mark and cut only on one fold. That side that you want to be higher, you want to cut only one fold, guys. Please cut only one fold. So by the time you do this, you will have that high-low effect. One side will be higher than the other. Now we have our upper bodies, we have our sleeve, we have our skirt as well. If you have enjoyed watching this video, please hit on the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up so that it reaches more people. Thank you. Now I'm going to be cutting the frills, and I folded my fabric into a buyer's grain. I'm just going to be cutting as much as I can get from this fabric that I have right here. And my frills is measuring 6 inches. So 6 inches in length, and I'm going to be joining the pieces together. So for the length, it just depends on how much fabric you have. So I'm going to be joining all of the pieces together to make a single strand, which I'm going to be gathering for the dress design. So now I have all of my pieces. I think the sewing of this video will come up next, right after this one. So I would like you to subscribe if you have not done so already, so that you won't miss that. This video is already too long and I don't want to bore you so much. Thanks so much, guys, for watching this video already, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.